Hey guys, it's M4J here and welcome back to the Motherboard network on OpenTTD. Now before we get started in today's episode properly, I just want to say a huge thank you to Lieutenant Joker. You might remember last episode on Monday I said about the game kept crashing and was being a bit of an inconvenience. I left a comment on his video. He went through and contacted me to ask him to send him the save file, and quite literally overnight he found the problem and he fixed it and the game is working again. So huge thank you from me to Lieutenant Joker. Anyone watching this video who also watches Joker's videos, go leave a comment on one of his videos thanking him for the help as well, because he is quite literally a lifesaver right now. Wednesday's episode did not happen because of the or it wasn't postponed, I should say, because of the game crashing, because I could have still perhaps made an episode, just kept the game paused like I did on Monday. It's actually because I just didn't have enough time to make an episode, to be quite honest, and even today it's going to be a bit of a stretch. If you are watching this at the time that it's meant to be uploaded, then I've somehow managed to persevere and get it done, but I've been quite busy this week, unfortunately, which is why episodes here have been a little bit limited to this week rather than 3. I am considering taking the series back to 2 episodes a week, one on Monday and one on Friday, just so that I can free up a slot for another series in my schedule. At the moment it is Tuesdays that are Global Ventures and Thursdays kind of a flexible one. I will be making some more Motorsport Manager videos in the very near future, but it would be nice to have some free slots available during the week, but I'll let you know more in the future if that's actually going to happen. Another thing I want to talk about is episode 200, because I put out a thing a couple of weeks ago saying give me some ideas for episodes, or give me some ideas for episode 200, and no one said anything. That's a bit worrying. I'm not sure why that is. If you have an idea for episode 200, please tell me. I am struggling a little bit for ideas, so I'll be very grateful for any suggestions. I will say though that network overviews, I probably could do one now because I've built a few more main lines, but I'd like to steer away from that kind of thing because we've done that sort of 3 times in a row now. But anything else like a huge building project or a massive time lapse, a compilation of all the previous episodes on this map, if anyone is actually wanting that, then I have no problems doing that. I'm just not sure how good of an episode that would end up actually being, but it's a suggestion. I would like to hear from you guys because I make videos for you, so it would be nice to know what you want so that I am making what you actually want. That being said, I have a comment which is related to today's episode. Let's talk about today's episode. You might already see I'm going a bit mental with bridges and tunnels. We're building our high-speed line, and it was Peter Evans who suggested where is it? Actually, no. Well, actually, yeah. Okay. So Ben de Roche was the first one. I've probably butchered your name again. I know I got it right once upon a time. Said about building a grade-separated high-speed line. That's kind of what we're doing now. There are lots of sections that do run across the ground, but the majority of it is up on viaducts and in tunnels. I like that idea. I think it's a really cool idea. It's exactly what's happening with High Speed 2 in the UK at the moment. It does look like Phase 1 at least has been greenlit, which means construction will begin 2026. I think they've said is the estimated opening date, which I'm sure would make the High Speed 2 construction process faster than the Crossrail construction process. That's only 9 years away, which doesn't... I mean, it sounds like a lot, and I still think it's a lot, and I wonder what the hell they're doing in 9 years when other countries around the world can get it done in half that time, if not less than that even. But I don't know. That's the UK for you. So High Speed 2 Phase 1 has been greenlit, and that's exactly what this line is going to be based on. Although this line that you're watching being built right now is called High Speed 1, but it's 1 spelled O-N-E, not the number 1. I think that's my distinction that I'm going to make on my high-speed network. All the numbers are going to be spelt out, just so that there is a difference and it doesn't look like I've copied it. That being said, I don't think anyone would accuse me of copying because they know that it's inspired by this, but that's not the point. Peter Evans was asking me about 4-track and 2-track main lines, which is why I mentioned him as well, because this is a 2-track main line. There's going to be lots of different types of train running on this line. You will see A-type at the end of this episode. I won't reveal too much about that right now, but I'm quite happy with it. It's the slowest train that's going to run on this line. All the other ones are going to be much faster. It's also the longest train that's going to run on the entire network of all lines. So that gives you an idea as to how big this train is. Peter Evans also asked about the setting vehicles routing disallowed train reversing in stations. I should have shown this on screen actually. That setting I do have currently set off. Its default setting is off as well, and yet for some reason it's acting as though I have it switched on. I haven't done the whole switch it on switch it off thing again just yet, because I would like to think there's another fix for it. I also don't want to bother Joker with it right now, because as I say, he worked really hard to fix the bug for me the last time around, and it's not a bug really. It's an let me rephrase. It's a bug, but it's not an inconvenience to me as such. It's a little bit annoying. It means I have to build bay platforms at all stations where I want trains to terminate right now. But when it's fixed in whatever release, I can always take the bay platforms out again. So it's no problem really. And as I say, I'm very grateful to him for the hard work that he did getting the latest patch out to fix the previous problem. So I don't really want to inconvenience him with medial things like that. I'm sure he has bigger problems, as we all do. Anyway. High-speed lines. Let's talk about high-speed lines. I've already brushed on the fact of high-speed 1 in the UK in the past, and I've also just talked about high-speed 2. I wish there was a high-speed 1.5 that would connect up high-speeds 1 and 2, because that is what I'm going to do on this network. There's going to be lots of high-speed linking lines, linking all of the high-speed lines on the map to one another. There is a plan, or there was a plan, to link high-speed 1 with high-speed 2. Currently that's not going ahead. There's no budget for it or anything like that. But I saw a suggestion in my Rower magazine. People write in every month, and someone has a suggestion, because the original plan was to have it connect across Camden, and I can see why that would be an inconvenience, because if it's done through bridges it would look ugly, and if it's done through tunnels people's houses would shake every time a train goes through. So that could be a bit of an inconvenience. But someone said, why does it have to link through London? Why can't it go up and alongside something like the M25, which is the orbital road around London for those of you who don't live in the UK? But run alongside that, like a common high-speed line runs alongside a main road. Why not just do that and have it link up completely outside of London? So, I mean, even bypassing Stratford and places like that, go from somewhere like Ebbsfleet to, I'm trying to think where the first station is on high speed 2 that's outside London. I have a horrible feeling it's Birmingham International, but I mean, it could link up there. Is it Birmingham International? I know there's 2 stations outside Birmingham, well, one out in Birmingham, one outside Birmingham. But that would work. Why not? And then we could have the long-lived dream of running Eurostars between the main UK cities like Glasgow, Edinburgh, Manchester, Birmingham, all those places, right the way through to continental Europe. There are sets that exist, or they did exist, they might have gone by now, but there were sets that existed for that exact idea. For those of you that remember the GNER liveried Eurostars, like I do have running on my my network, they were built for that. They were called Regional Stars, or the project was called Regional Star, and it never went ahead. There was also one called Night Star, which was for sleeper services to run from all over the place. You know, Penzance, Swansea, Cardiff. They'd all link up at Kensington, Olympia. Kensington, Olympia? Yeah, Olympia. And then be taken through the Channel Tunnel. There were lots of really, really ambitious plans, and they never got taken forward, which is a bit of a shame. But my network will revitalize and rejuvenate, and in some cases resurrect these plans. I would like to have all of these services as things on my network. This is a virtual world where anything's possible. As you can see here, as I'm demolishing these houses just so I can build this bridge through the town. Anything's possible. So we will definitely be doing that. It's a shame that in the real world there are some bureaucrats that don't like railways and will do anything in their power to stop new railways being built. And as much as I respect the opinions of NIMBYs, I do feel like sometimes, especially with High Speed 2, there are people that do not live in the areas affected who are campaigning on behalf of those who are living in the area who will be affected, saying that High Speed 2 shouldn't be built. But how do these people know when they don't even live in the area? You'll be surprised at how many people are in support of it, but all you read about is people who are against it. It has to happen. It has to happen one way or another, because the West Coast is fully, like, it's no more capacity. And all these people are saying, these are the same people who are saying we need more trains on the lines, but don't seem to understand that we can't have more trains on the lines because there's no more room for them. We need a new main line to take the high-speed trains off of the West Coast main line, or at least some of them off the West Coast main line, and then we can have more suburban traffic, more interurban traffic, and more freight traffic, which are the exact things that people are complaining that we don't have. But, you know, sometimes in order to build a new building you must knock down the predecessor, and that's exactly what we're having to do here. We're going to have to inconvenience the few to benefit the many. And it's very easy for me to say here because I do not live in the areas affected by High Speed 2, but I will be affected by High Speed 2. So I do feel like where necessary we can compensate those affected, but the majority of the people that are campaigning do not live in the areas affected. So it should be sort of reassessed as to how many people will actually be affected. Obviously I don't want people thrown out of their homes. I'm kind of in support of the idea of tunnelling under certain areas so that they're not spoiling the landscape. I don't mind that. It's expensive. That's the other thing. The campaigners are also the ones who are complaining about how expensive the project is, and yet they insist on building 50-mile long tunnels under the countryside. You know, it's laughable sometimes. Just how contradictory people can be. But that's just me complaining, and that's my 2 cents. I'm sure there's other people out there with similar opinions. There's also people out there with polar opposite opinions, and that's fine. That's what's great about YouTube, and that's what's great about the modern world, is people are more than within their right to have their own opinions on these things. I like railways, and I like progress, so I think High Speed 2 is a good thing. The government has also recently announced, TfL has anyway, that they're extending the Gospel Oak to Barking line to Barking Riverside, and again there were people that would be affected by that, but the majority of people seem to be okay with it because it's actually going to benefit the new housing projects that's going on in Barking Riverside, which is why it's happening. And I think that's a good example of a project done well. It was announced a long time ago that they were thinking of doing it, and they left it open for people to voice their opinions, and then they decided whether they were going ahead with it or not, and it sounds like everyone's okay with it, so it's going ahead. If anyone out there knows the opposite of that, or knows a bit more about it than I do, because I'm not that up to speed on it, to be perfectly honest. The overground network has never really interested me that much. I have my own on this network, which is still expanding, by the way. I'm still finding new services to add. You know, there are people that will live in and around London that will know outright what exactly is happening, because I think it's only 1 or 2 new stations that are being built as part of this extension. And what was the other thing I read recently? There was a railway that it was going to cost £1.5 million a mile to build. Oh, I think it was a heritage line. So it's not strictly related to this, but there is, I think it's the Corris Railway actually, so it's totally unrelated to this, because it's a narrow gauge heritage line. But there was plans to extend that line, which is going to cost £1.5 million a mile for a heritage railway. That's ridiculous. As small a line as it might be, and I think it's only a couple of miles that it's actually extending, but £1.5 million a mile. Can you imagine what that could have been spent on instead? It's unbelievable. But there you go. I'm more angry with the people that are charging the money than the people who are paying it, because the people who are paying it clearly want the project to go ahead. It's the people that are charging it that I think are criminal. And there certainly should be investigations into how much railways should actually cost to build. I'm surprised the BBC or someone like that haven't actually made a program about how much do railways actually cost. Because that would be really interesting to find out just where the money actually goes. Especially as Network Rail are paying it, and Network Rail is a government-owned company. So the taxpayer is paying for the majority of these rail projects, and I'm sure the taxpayer would like to know where their money's going. I personally am not a taxpayer, which is why I tend to stay quiet on these subjects, but I know people who are, and I'm sure they would like to know where their hard-earned money is going. Especially if it turns out they're just spending money for the sake of spending money. Now that would be infuriating, I imagine. Right, you can see I'm building the new high-speed station up in this top corner. This is also where the northern trunk route is going to end up running to, which is why I end up building way more platforms than I need to. GSG has 6 high-speed platforms. This station has 5. The main reason is there's going to be more services running from GSG out across the widespread network than there will be running from this station out to the widespread network. And I keep saying this station because I can't actually remember the name of it off the top of my head, but I do have the game open in the other screen for this exact reason. The station is called Gronwell. Gronwell Superion, I ended up calling it. And you can sort of see me debating with the name. It's probably come up on the screen already, or maybe not yet. I wanted it to have a really nice name, and I nearly called it Hyperion, but I thought that's pretty much Borderlands territory. I've never actually played Borderlands, and I certainly don't want it to be associated with Hyperion. So, Gronwell Superion, the station is called, and it probably means completely the opposite to what I want it to mean, but I think it sounds quite majestic, which is why I chose that name. And we do have some trains running, and they will be running at the end of this episode. I will stop talking soon, the music will carry on, and you will get to see the train making its maiden voyage. There's a bit of a wait at the initial stations because the trains are quite spread out on this line, as you would expect, given the fact that it's high speed. I might as well tell you what trains we've got now. So the first train running on the network is a 25 carriage long railjet service. 25 carriages. To put that in perspective, Eurostars, I believe, at their maximum are 20 carriages. They might even be less than that, actually. Quick Google search. Whoops. How many carriages in Eurostar? 18. Oh, hang on. The E300s are 18 passenger carriages with 2 power cars. They are technically 20 units long. I think the new ones are 20, including carriages can hold passengers as well, the Valeros. These trains are 394 meters long, the E300s. That's a running track, essentially, all the way around. A running track is 400 meters, 394 meters long. That's insane. They can carry 750 passengers. These are the intercapital sets. There are other variants. There's one other variant of the E300. Let me get it quickly. Fleet. This is what I want. Yeah, so the two variants are the 31 intercapital sets, which consist of 2 power cars and 18 passenger carriages, and the 7 shorter North of London sets, which have 2 power cars and 14 passenger carriages. So they're still 16 units long. That's, you know, still very long. They were designed to operate the aborted regional Eurostar services. Now the new ones, the new trains, the Class 374s, which are also known as the E320s, they have 16 carriages, but each carriage can hold passengers. They're 400 meters long, so they are longer than the original, even though they've got less carriages, and they can hold, I think it's 150 people, something like that. Yeah, they have between 894 and 950 seats. So the railjet is long, as you can imagine. It is long. Let me think, how many people can it hold? That's a good question as well, because obviously each carriage does have a slightly different. Yeah, see, some can hold 76. It's the kids cinema carriage, I still love that, can hold 76 passengers, 80 passengers in normal cars, 10 in the onboard restaurant, 55 in first class, and 62 in premium first class, which is the end that has the DVT. Or is the DVT? I mean, technically it's a driving van trailer, but I think it's called a control car. So let me do some quick maths. So 76 plus 10 plus 55 plus 62 plus, and then I need to do some brackets. Whoops, not there. Here. 80 times, how many carriages do I have that I can see 80? Let's see, there's 25 and there's 4 that don't. so it must be 21. So apparently this train can carry 1,883 passengers. Do I believe that? 80 times 21 is 1,680. Okay, plus 76 plus 10 plus 55 plus 62. 1,883. That's insane. That's twice as much as a Eurostar can carry. So my Railjet services are certainly going to be well stocked. That's for sure. And they're going to be running the slow services, pretty much stopping at every station. I might have one that sort of stops, because there's 3 stations en route. So I might have one that stops in the middle of those 3 stations. So it skips one, stops, skips one, stops, just a sort of faster service. But anyway, the train's going to do its maiden voyage now. I'm probably going to end up talking into that, because I always go over the end of these time lapses. So I'm going to very quickly say once again thank you very much to Lieutenant Joker for his help. Again, go leave some comments on his video thanking him, and just watch his videos as well, because he does know what he's doing with it when it comes to this game. He's a bit of a genius when it comes to making patches, certainly something that I know I can't do. So a huge thanks to him just for making the patch and for also fixing it. But apart from that, guys, thank you to you guys as well for watching. Please, please, please leave some suggestions down below for episode 200. Apart from that, also leave a like as well, of course, if you enjoyed the video, and of course if you're enjoying the series, drop some comments down below with other ideas for future episodes. Also go check out the name list, because we do still need to do that. Apart from that, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button. If you have already subscribed to the channel, thank you guys for your continued support. Enjoy the video now of the Railjet making its maiden voyage, and until next time, I will see you soon.